I have a few passions in my life, including travel, Art Deco, and the City of Lights, Paris. All the stars aligned for me in 2025, a special year for Art Deco enthusiasts, because it is the centennial of the Exposition Internationale des Arts Decoratifs et Industriels Modernes. For those non-French speakers, that would be the International Exhibition of Modern, Decorative, and Industrial Arts. That's why the Art Deco Society of Paris hosted the week-long 17th Biennial World Congress on Art Deco. Coincidentally, it coincided with my birthday, making it a must-do for me and my husband. A big shout out to Pascal Yves Laurent and his crew of volunteers who planned every step to perfection. Well, almost. More about that later. In the next hour and a half or so, you'll be able to experience some of the restaurants, museums, and events that the 200 of us attended. The video is broken down into chapters, such as Soirées, 1925 Expo-themed museum visits, other museums that we visited the week following the Congress, and so on, as seen in the description box below this video. You may know that the term Art Deco wasn't coined until the 1960s. But did you know that it was this man, Bevis Hillier, who was responsible? We were honored to have him kick off our conference remotely from his home in the UK. Before we get started, let me say a few words about the fair. Originally, the event was scheduled to run April to October, but since it was visited by over 16 million people, by the end of October, it was extended into November. Designed by the French government to highlight the new modern style of architecture, interior decoration, furniture, glass, jewelry, and other decorative arts in Europe and throughout the world, it attracted 15,000 exhibitors from 20 countries. As this map shows, the event took place between the esplanade of Les Invalides and the entrances of the Grand Palais and Petits Palais, and on both banks of the Seine. Decorators, manufacturers, magazines, department stores, artists, and even foreign nations competed fiercely to occupy Parisian buildings or erect temporary structures to display their latest creations. I really love what this map offers. Unfortunately, it's oriented from south to north instead of north to south, which is the way we're used to looking at maps. But it does give a list of all of the pavilions, and they're number coded. So I will provide a link to the website where I got this if you want to go and see it on your computer, where you can really blow it up large and take a look at where all the different pavilions were located. Most interestingly are the 3 boats of Paul Poiret, and later on in this video there's a whole segment on Paul Poiret And there's one card from the museum that I encourage you to read it because it really shares a lot of useful information about him pertaining to this fair. So I did make a brief mention about every step was planned. Well, I took a misstep. The very last evening, I was climbing a flight of stairs, about to leave the venue, and at maybe like the third step from the top, something happened to my knee. It buckled, and I was rendered incapacitated. I had a hard time walking up those last few steps. I was in excruciating pain, and my husband got a chair for me right away. I barely was able to get onto the bus that was taking us back to the neighborhood where our hotel was. From there, I had a short walk to the hotel. I couldn't do that walk. We had to take a taxi those few blocks. P.S. Long story short, instead of coming back to New York, which was going to be prohibitive, to see doctors in Paris was also going to be prohibitively expensive, so I opted not to do that. Rather, I chose to stay off that leg entirely, or as much as I possibly could, for the next week because we still had plans to do other things in Paris after the conference ended. My husband rented a wheelchair around the corner from my friend's apartment and pushed me all around Paris. Now, if any of you watching this have been told that Parisians are unfriendly, it's a myth, and I can attest to that. They rolled out the red carpet for me virtually everywhere we went. If they didn't have a ramp, they brought one out from a back room and laid it over the stairs for me. There were elevators in many places. I had a couple of places where I did have to navigate the stairs and it was very painful. You know, some of these little brasseries, they don't have room on the ground floor for a restaurant, so they put it usually down a flight of stairs, a narrow winding flight of stairs. Even the Pantheon had no accessibility for bathrooms. I had to have a man help me down the flight of stairs. And amazingly, all the people stepped aside for me. I got to the front of the line. I mean, I felt really guilty, but they pampered me. The best place of all was the Christian Dior Museum. You'll see that much later on in the video, because they had elevators connecting all the different buildings, but there was one place where they didn't have an elevator. They had a really unusual platform that lifted up and moved into place adjacent to the top level. Really cool. I tried to film it from the wheelchair. Anyway, people offered to do things for me. People were incredibly helpful and accommodating. The buses are really set up for this as well. They have a ramp that just comes right out. You roll on. You don't inconvenience anyone. The system in New York is quite a bit different and a real nuisance for other passengers. But in Paris, it's really orchestrated very smoothly. So I can't sing the praises of my second favorite city enough. Hopefully, the things that you see in this video will inspire you to make a trip of your own. There's so much beauty to behold. Every intersection, every place. It's just so gorgeous there. I hope you enjoy. Love to hear your comments. If you were there with me, please drop a comment saying hello. So nice to meet all of you. We had people, mostly English-speaking people from all around the world, from India, from Australia, from the UK, from Canada, the United States, of course. I think that's it. There might have been a few other representations, but mostly English-speaking. Some of the presenters of the conferences that we attended spoke French, so we had headsets that did simultaneous translation for us. It was so beautifully done. I mean, I just can't sing its praises enough. I hope you enjoy. Fasten your seatbelts as we travel back in time. Here we go.
It is said that 1,200 bottles of champagne had been ordered for the occasion. But by midnight, they were gone. Right? The dancing of that boat where we find ourselves tonight. Woo! Open in the basement.
At the top, we have this boutique divinity, unnamed, which just at her foot are Ceres and Pomona, two goddesses of crops and fertility in ancient Rome. In this place that we will have the concerts, the balls, etc., etc. It's also the place in which we will give away furnitures, informations to people that want to go to the colonies. So this is a place of education. That's why you saw this gigantic relief at the entrance of the palace. The goal is to show the colonies, to talk about the colonies, and to represent the colonies for people that, you have to imagine, French people from the 1930s, if they are jobless, most of them never heard about the colonies. They don't have any idea of where is what. Over there, made out of buffalo, African buffalo leather. And you have this weird chair. If you look really on the side, you will notice the chair with 3 legs. So it's awfully safe. layers and layers and layers and layers, and then we carve inside of those layers. This will give you this very special tint on the swatch. This reddish, a bit earthy tint, which is very interesting. Modernity, because it was made by Juno, as you can imagine.
This would be the total length of one of the trains. First class, Pullman.
On mélange respect de l'intimité et relations sociales dans des endroits dédiés. Il faut une culture du dessin et de la mise au point et du détail, indispensable. Depuis que je fais ce travail, j'ai toujours eu envie de m'entourer des gens qui pouvaient m'apporter quelque chose par rapport à mon dessin.
This museum, the Musée des Années 30, the Museum of the 1930s, has a Tamara de Lempicka. If you've been here before, you'll know that she is my favorite artist, specifically of the Art Deco period. The sign next to this painting says, "An event in the painter's private life explains why this painting remained unfinished." The model, Tadeusz Lempicki, her husband, left her in 1928, tired of his wife's excesses and extravagant lifestyle. Tamara therefore chose not to finish the left hand where she was supposed to paint the wedding ring.
You have marbles from different colors, brown marbles, you have green marbles, the blue sticks and blue things.
1913, pre-Art Deco.
The early 20th century saw a marked increase in transatlantic voyages on ocean liners, a profound shift in the way people traveled. Louis Vuitton kept pace with these changes by selling innovative and specially adapted trunks, such as these two models, still seen as emblematic pieces of the house. The wardrobe trunk was made to remain in the traveler's cabin. It opened like a closet and had a space equipped with coat hangers. Attire had become simpler from the 1920s onward, allowing travelers to take this wardrobe trunk with them in the cabin, despite the length of the journey. Entirely upholstered in leather, the desk trunk featured cleverly installed shelves and a folding table that formed a writing desk, such that the owner could work while traveling, with personal or professional documents still remaining neat and organized. The desk trunk came in numerous variations, such as the illustrious secretary desk trunk designed in 1929 for the composer Leopold Stokowski. The 1925 sales ledger provides an exhaustive list of the pieces chosen for display at the exhibition. The 60-some objects to be presented were divided into several categories: trunks, vanity cases, leather goods, and toiletry sets. The stand was presented in the form of a diorama. It illustrates Gaston Louis Vuitton's marked taste for the art of display and his penchant for the geometry and symmetry of forms. This is a quote from a magazine of the time. When you enter the Class 9 area, directly in front of you is a beautifully and harmoniously arranged stand. The overall color scheme is green and gray, walls of green, and a draped gray velvet frieze. In the foreground are tall display cases holding travel cases, bottles, brush sets. In the background, symmetrically arranged on steps, separated by strips of green velvet and placed in tiers like uprights on a stage, are open trunks in materials that coordinate with the brown and gray carpet. This is the Louis Vuitton stand. The shoe secretary was and is one of the house's most remarkable vertical trunks, opening both from the front and the top to ensure immediate access to the contents. Each of the 30 fabric-lined drawers could hold a pair of shoes, each pair protected by a cushion and clearly labeled. The upper and lower drawers were designed to hold stockings or accessories. This type of trunk illustrated the ingenuity of refined travel and was shown at the 1925 International Exhibition of Modern Decorative and Industrial Arts. That same year, a version was commissioned by the opera singer Lily Pons. Paul Poiret, 1878 to 1944, was a key figure of early 20th century fashion. He transformed women's attire by instilling a new freedom, with silhouettes inspired by the lines of the neoclassical style. Poiret was an all-round artist, exploring many realms, from fashion to fragrance to decorative arts. He was also a loyal Louis Vuitton client, commissioning everything from trunks, featuring his own personalization, to suitcases for carrying samples under the name Les Parfums de Rosine. The house began forging ties with the world of beauty in the early 20th century. Designed as a travel dressing table, this front-opening toiletry kit, commissioned by the couturier Jean Lanvin, held all the essentials for a woman's toilette in a compact space. This model has become a Louis Vuitton classic. The clean, symmetrical lines of the interior design echo the creations of its couturier owner, such as this evening gown with bold black and white lines inspired by the Art Deco movement. Under the leadership of Gaston Louis Vuitton, the house also produced furniture specially crafted for women's beauty rituals. This dressing table, designed by decorator Pierre-Emile Legrand, is another superb example of the Art Deco aesthetic. It was presented in a house catalog under the evocative title La Touche de Rouge, which translates several ways involving makeup references, including a touch of lipstick. Louis Vuitton's canvas hand luggage line, suppler and lighter in weight than models in leather, and designed to be taken into the cabin by the traveler, came into being in the late 19th century with the steamer bag, then was substantially expanded in the 1930s. The Champs-Élysées bag, heir to the 1934 Squire bag, was one such creation. Its understated modern design, echoing the streamlined simplicity of Art Deco, offered maximum capacity with minimum weight and bulk. The V marking and the yellow, green, and black stripes are those of Mrs. Henry Louis Vuitton, wife of Gaston Louis' son. These are several photos by Therese Bani, who we heard a lecture on during the conference. Marie Curie was the first director of the Curie Laboratory at the Radium Institute, which was built in 1914 to house studies on radiation and its applications in cancer treatment. She spent the last 20 years of her life there in the laboratory, where her elder daughter, Irene, along with her husband Frédéric Joliot, discovered artificial radioactivity in 1934, thus continuing the scientific work she had undertaken with Pierre Curie at the dawn of the 20th century. Marie Curie's office and chemistry laboratory have been preserved and constitute the oldest part of Institut Curie. Originally two laboratories separated by a garden, the Radium Institute was staffed by chemists, physicists, biologists, and doctors. The objects and documents conserved by the Curie Museum bear witness to the scientific and medical work of the Radium Institute and of the Curie Foundation, which were merged to form Institut Curie in 1978.
Upon the arrival of the Revolution, the Ministry of the Navy occupied the building for more than 2 centuries. The Garde Meuble became the Hôtel de la Marine, a high place of representation of the state and the headquarters from which all great naval expeditions were led.
If you make it up Benjamin Franklin Street and keep following it around, you will be titillated by this view of the Eiffel Tower and the home of Honoré Balzac, the famous author.
Here you see a genealogy chart as long as the room, depicting 2,500 of his characters and their interrelationships. These woodblocks were used to illustrate various editions of the works of Balzac. They are all the result of a technique that appeared at the beginning of the 19th century, end-grain wood engraving. The blocks used were the same thickness as the type, 2.356 centimeters, and so could be printed at the same time as the text. Most of the blocks here come from Quenard's edition, 1912 to 1940, of Balzac's complete works. In California, Rick Owens developed the intellectual, artistic, historical, and mystical references that form the cornerstone of his style. Marked by his Catholic education and the strict upbringing imposed by his father, he discovered biblical accounts and rare works ranging from late 19th century French literature to early major Hollywood films. Arriving in Los Angeles in 1980, he threw himself into the nightlife scene and experimented across several domains, just as HIV created a shockwave for his generation. At the turn of the 1990s, his first designs, bearing his name, reflected these experiences. His creations were inspired by the sophisticated fashion of a troubled decades, the 1930s, while his salvaged and faded materials were patinated by vice and misuse. Rick Owens' unique vision, embodied by his partner Michelle Lamy, and the highly technical skills of his creations began to attract increasing attention. In 2002, he presented his first fashion show in New York before leaving LA for Paris the following year. This is the gown worn by Princess Diana at Met Gala 1996.
Derrière se trouvent 3 immeubles de 7 étages chacun qui sont tous bourrés de bureaux et d'ateliers. Chaque saison nous impose une bonne nouvelle, une création nouvelle, nous essayons de ne pas y faire. C'est mille et un métiers.
La brillance, d'accord? Donc là, quand je la mets à la lumière, vous voyez, ça brille. Donc là, vous la voyez mieux à la publicité, ça brille un peu plus. Et la publicité déjà faite? Oui, puisque vous l'avez peut-être déjà vu, hein, mais vous n'avez peut-être pas fait attention. Donc c'est cette robe-là, et vous voyez Rihanna comme ça. Vous tapez sur Google ou autre, vous allez la voir. Donc là, on travaille avec des crochets de Lunéville. Donc les crochets de Lunéville, c'est ces ustensiles-là. Vous voyez là, ça, c'est des petits crochets. qu'on a. Ça, c'est le plus gros qu'on ait, enfin que moi j'ai, puisqu'on me l'a légué après que ma collègue est partie en retraite. Vous voyez? Oui, ça c'est le plus comme ça. Et là, je viens avec la main en dessous, je viens chercher mon petit morceau de perle. Donc là, je viens, hop, et là, je viens faire mon petit mouvement pour faire mon petit vermicelle, que j'ai pas de dessin. Hein. Donc là, le tissu, vous voyez bien, il n'y a rien d'imprimé dessus. Et là, je viens faire ma petite chaînette comme ça, pour faire mon petit vermicelle. Ce point-là, c'est du vermicelle. Voilà. Oui, bien sûr. Donc là, hop. Et après, quand on a posé toutes les perles, on vient avec les petites paillettes que je vais vous montrer juste après. Je trouve un petit.
Donc en fait sur votre fil, il y a les...
Voilà. Ok, ma paillette contre le tissu. Je prends mon petit crochet et je viens entourer mon fil. D'accord? Donc là, c'est posé. Et là, je viens refaire mon petit arrêt de 2 à 3 petits. Trop tard.
In 1851, Parisians received a curious invitation. You are cordially invited to come watch the world turn. Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, a devoted supporter of the sciences, gave permission to physicist Léon Foucault to use the Pantheon's dome to carry out an experiment. Foucault installed a 67-meter-long steel cable with a brass sphere hanging from it. The goal? To visually demonstrate Earth's rotation. While the experiment drew great interest from the public, it only lasted a few months, cut short by Bonaparte's coup d'etat in December 1851. In 1995, a new pendulum was permanently installed.
Léo.
in Paris because Sophie, who appeared in an early episode with me, is orchestrating this auction that's about to take place tomorrow of the collection of somebody named Merkel, German, but this is his collection of Meissen and other things.
Do you know what that is?
I think that's where Marie Antoinette was kept.
Really?
In one of these places is where she was. I'm not sure if this is the
I'm at the rond-point de Champs-Élysées. It's like a round point along the Champs-Élysées, and in the background you can see, I believe it's the Grand Palais. There's Grand Palais and Petit Palais. They face one another, but I think that's the big one, just behind the red light. And you can see there these very interesting fountains. There's a few of them. Here's an even better view. You can see it twirling. I didn't see that before. There's a series of them. This is a very chic shopping street in Paris. You had Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana. Chloe. Fendi. Here's Chanel. Across the street, more Chanel. Celine. Bon Point for children. You can find them on Madison Avenue in New York too. I don't know Ecuries. Well, it's a beautiful shop. Ferragamo. Beautiful shoes from Italy. It's kind of like being on the Riviera or maybe Rodeo Drive. Very posh. Look at the elegance of these Haussmannian buildings. The scale of these buildings throughout Paris. There's Versace also. But the scale of the buildings of Paris is what gives it so much charm.
We stumbled upon this interesting looking building. We wandered in. It turned out to be a place called Hôtel, which is a big auction house.
Here's the story. Since 1852, the Hôtel Drouot has been the vibrant heart of the art market in France. An institution dedicated to auctions, it's the only one in the world to bring together auction houses from diverse backgrounds in a single location. From the mid-19th century, it became the largest physical marketplace internationally, offering enthusiasts an incredible diversity of art and collectibles. From its opening, this symbol of French excellence established itself as the essential meeting place for collectors and dealers. It was at the Hôtel Drouot that in the 19th century, the first sales dedicated to the masters of Impressionist art, then emerging, and the first sessions devoted to the arts of Asia, Africa, and Oceania were held. The Hôtel Drouot has been the site of numerous historic sales, including the estates of some of the greatest artists and writers, such as Edgar Degas, Ingres, Eugène Delacroix, Guy de Maupassant, André Derain, one of the initiators of Fauvism, André Breton, leader of Surrealism, and Jacques Doucet, the couturier who brought Art Deco to prominence. It is the place where the furniture of the kings of France is experiencing a resurgence in popularity, sought after by the greatest American collectors. It is also here that several paintings by Johannes Vermeer have been sold to the world's most eminent museums.
Bonjour, monsieur. Merci. It's a beautiful Art Deco inspired hotel called Hôtel de Collectionneur. Keep going. Keep going. Enrico, say a quick hello.
Hello.
He's running out to an appointment.
step ahead on the platform.
I go now?
Yep.
Should I stay on?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, well then I'm not going to get a movie of it.
Okay.
Oui.
Ready?
So I'm sitting on a platform that came out of the floor, and it's going to lift up to the top of these steps. It's lifting me in my wheelchair up to the top. It's a form of an elevator. And then, oh, I forgot, it approaches the step when it gets to the right height. It's such clever ingenuity. And then I'll just be able to roll right off. Voila.
I go.
Note unique sur laquelle le couturier peut composer 1000 variations, comme le musicien n'a que les 7 notes de la gamme à sa disposition.
We're in this beautiful elevator at Christian Dior with all classical music playing. It tells you on the wall what you're listening to. So since I'm in a wheelchair temporarily, I found this room that had wheelchair accessibility, but it's a whole gymnasium of stuff, and you need to press and get special permission to enter. I'm not taking this video because I can't walk around right now.
À chaque fois, quand tu vois quelqu'un qui a vraiment des mains, qui ne peut pas blanchir, tu te dis, on va se prendre la tête, mélange avec l'aide. Parce que là, si je écoute mon procédure, je ne peux même pas la faire. Là, voilà. Bon, elle m'a dit qu'elle a vu en fait ça bloque à chaque fois. Bon.
You'll be the last person to board the plane.
I'll let you go first, and okay, you can go. And how was it?
is my bad leg. I have to put my